Today, I want to talk to you guys about React content since the topic is hot again, and it is a bread and butter video format for me on my channel. I'd like to think that I'm an expert in the field. I'd like to think that I put a lot of effort into making my videos transformative, and this does apply to the wider YouTuber music community. There's some drama going on right now between some YouTubers and some streamers regarding reacting, which is funny because this is stuff that I feel like was covered years ago, still hasn't really changed. Actually, probably got worse. In particular, two massive creators, really stretching that term, have come under fire. First creator to come under fire is SSSniperwolf, who is a reactor. I don't know. I'm not sure what to call her. I've always hated the word reactor. She's basically acts like a dumb child and looks pretty on screen. That's what it is. She got a shout out from YouTube's main account on Twitter, and she also got a feature spot at VidCon, kind of a big deal. And this made many creators not happy, but one in particular quite sour enough to actually say something about it. jacksfilms, a veteran creator who's been on YouTube for a long time, called her out on Twitter, and this set the internet ablaze as it normally does. He says she's essentially stealing other people's work because she doesn't really add much of anything to the existing work that she uses. Oh, sorry, reacts to. What a BS term. She's essentially freebooting and curating a bunch of other videos she didn't make, and that's 100% what's happening here. Even if you like SSSniperwolf, you have to admit she really doesn't add much other than some weird noises that no one really likes and looks pretty. That's the extent of it. She doesn't even credit the people that she takes content from. It would be there by happenstance, not because she put in any effort to. jacksfilms was so put off by this, he went so far as to turn his second channel into exclusively reacting to SSSniperwolf content without her permission, and it's kind of hilarious. He started making daily videos just like SSSniperwolf makes daily videos, except now he is dissecting how horrible all of her reactions are. I've watched these daily videos. They're awesome. I definitely recommend you check them out. They're very funny. And I will link that in the description for you. And I'm pretty sure that beef prompted another beef that a different YouTuber, SomeOrdinaryGamer, called out a massive streamer, xQc.
Thanks. Well, you don't want to have to look down at this mess. But don't look at the mess. You're right here. Don't look at.
If you force me to say what xQc does, I wouldn't really know what to tell you. I guess he plays games and reacts to videos. xQc doesn't really add much with his reactions. Frankly, it kind of comes across as exceedingly lazy. And if you needed more proof that it really requires no effort at all to make an insane amount of money, he just signed a $100 million contract with Kick in order to sit in front of a computer and act like an angry child. I'm not exaggerating, by the way. He's like the kid from Dr. Phil who wouldn't stop playing video games and was really mean to his family.
Ban! Ban this fucking kid! I don't want it!
I need to know.
I'm a second away from throwing this right at your face.
That's basically xQc, except that xQc is a millionaire. He won the laziness lottery. Some ordinary gamer called him out on Twitter for a particularly bad video that was uploaded from his stream, and yet again, set the internet ablaze. Now let's put xQc in a little bit of a bad mood. Oh, no binky for xQc. He started having a whole bunch of bravado on Twitter, and I've seen a number of conversations where he tries to defend his position or attack his attackers, and every single one of them he comes across as incoherent.
Wrong!
I disagree.
Yeah, they should make
He insults people who are criticizing him like an insecure schoolyard bully, or he just doesn't take one firm position. He'll kind of say, oh, well, it doesn't matter if it's transformative. Oh, well, here's why what I do is transformative. He has no actual point of view on it. He just kind of wants to do what he does and make money. Doesn't care whether it's good or helpful or hurting someone else. He's what happens when you give an underdeveloped Zoomer way too much money for doing basically nothing. He's just a spoiled brat. xQc just debated Ethan Klein on the H3 podcast, and frankly, it was very embarrassing for him. I wouldn't consider Ethan a particularly excellent debater, but he just mopped the floor with xQc. This debate and problem over reactors and reacting videos is nothing new. This has been a problem on YouTube for about a decade or so, and the problem's only gotten worse with the rise of streaming, especially on Twitch. Don't get me started with just how garbage Twitch is. It's so bad. For the record, I have no problem with people making more money smarter rather than harder, and I think that curation is very valuable and is worthy of compensation in some cases. Heck, Spotify and YouTube, curation is one of their biggest powers they have. But the problem for me isn't the curation, it's the fact that they are getting paid in place of the people whose art they're curating or stealing. They're taking views and thereby revenue from them. And I don't want to pretend this is a completely cut and dry issue, not by a long shot. There is a way to properly transform content you use, or you can just simply get permission. I did a whole live stream during the pandemic listening to a Dream Theater album back to front. And guess what? They asked me to do it, and they let me keep the revenue from the stream, which was super nice of them, truly. I've done far more transformative content that has been claimed on YouTube, and in this instance, they were like, yeah, keep the money. Like, heck yeah, thank you, appreciate it. So not every circumstance is the same, and these things need to be assessed on a case-by-case basis, absolutely. But as a general rule of thumb, I regularly get comments saying, hey, you're pausing the video too much, or you're talking too much, and I will send them to the original video, be like, you probably should watch that first before you come here, if my own fans don't beat me to it first. If you aren't clicking on my videos for me or for some type of outside perspective on the art I'm talking about, then it's probably a good sign that I'm stealing something. And music reactions are huge on YouTube. Pretty much type in any band name followed by reaction, you'll get guitarist reacts, voice teacher reacts, drummer reacts, roadie reacts. Yes, we've gotten to the point now where the roadie is reacting to it. The only kind of reactor we're missing is Studio Bitch reacts, where he describes what kind of things they like in their coffee and how this affects the performance of the studio. Some stupid stuff like that. I haven't taken the time to watch the vast majority of these. I'm not really into reaction content much at all, and I frankly don't even consume that much music content. Without naming any of the creators that I know personally, there's definitely some of you who could be putting a little more effort into these things. I know some people say, hey, we like to have the song play with minimal cuts. Okay, good for them. Does not make what you're doing morally correct, and it doesn't add value in any, as a matter of fact, it subtracts value from your reaction. Makes me wonder why you're making the content in the first place. Do you really want your brand as a musician and as someone who wants to have some sort of credibility to be associated with SSNiperwolf and xQc? Undoubtedly, some of you would answer, yes, I would really like to be associated more with those brands because that'll mean more clout for me. And this kind of brings me back to the paradigm I've been talking about for a while, artist versus clout chaser. I've wanted to make a video exploring this idea for a while, and it's part of the reason why I made the Awful Music podcast, but that's a whole other can of worms. It's a concept I'm still ruminating on. I haven't fully fleshed out yet, but the basic idea thus far, you have two personality absolutes on a spectrum. You have the artist and you have the clout chaser. It's rare, if ever, a person would ever embody absolutely one or absolutely the other. Usually lies on the spectrum. Both artist and clout chaser at either extreme are toxic. The pure artist is prideful and has his head buried squarely up his own ass. The pure artist makes art that is purely for them, and if the audience doesn't understand it, well, that's a problem with the audience, not with the art. They feel entitled for the audience to love what they made. I see people defending this stuff regularly in my comments, basically fetishizing art and fetishizing the artist, saying that unless you make every effort possible to understand the art and you also have to enjoy it, you're not entitled to have an opinion on it, which is dumb, stupid, terrible, toxic. And this is obviously BS since we can identify objectively poor forms of art, such as a beginner guitarist trying to play Yngwie Malmsteen or She-Hulk. So we got the artist side of the equation. Now let's take a look at the clout chaser. The clout chaser has no ambition other than social climbing and getting more money. All will be sacrificed at the altar of self for the clout chaser to be elevated. They are willing to put out trash that's detrimental to the individuals and to society as long as it elevates their status. Reactors who put little to no effort into their reaction videos fall heavily into the clout chaser side of this spectrum. The only thing they're looking for with this video is elevating social status, elevating their metrics. And that's the same reason why they would want to be associated with SSNiperwolf or xQc. Certainly not because they would feel proud of making that content. They don't care about providing measurable good to society. All they care about are the metrics that convert into more notoriety and more money. And that really boils it down for me as to both toxic sides of this spectrum and what makes them wrong. They're both focusing on the self, not giving to others. Reacting to the latest Metallica song in order to raise your social status is not bad in and of itself. If you're trying to have a larger goal you want to accomplish and you're doing that via YouTube, it's actually a smart way of doing that. But what is the bigger end goal you're trying to achieve? And are the means by which you're trying to achieve that goal actually good? I'm kind of shocked I have to put this question out there because it seems self-evident to me. But I don't know, maybe I was raised differently. In the case of SSNiperwolf and xQc, it is very clear they are unconcerned with anything other than their social status. That is their bigger goal, is immediate self-enrichment. Anything that threatens that social status will be attacked. So in the spirit of calling out these lazy pieces of crap, I would like to take this opportunity to ask my fellow YouTubers in music to please react harder, as much of a meme as that is. If you really aren't moved by something or really don't have that much insight to add to something, don't react to it. Or for that matter, if you really don't feel like you have much to add, explain why it's leaving you feeling empty. That's also qualifying as long as you take enough time to add enough value of your own content. Some of you aren't making the world a better place. I would say you're demonstrably making it worse. Just a little grain of sand, but all of these little grains of sand add up to a larger hill. Please reconsider when some of you are making your content, because the ends and the means both absolutely matter. If you're really just that nihilistic to where you're just, I'ma get mine, you only live once kind of attitude, you're probably beyond convincing, honestly. But do understand you are cultivating a very low investment audience around you, and your house of cards will fall. For every xQc, there's always gonna be a Some Ordinary Gamer. For every SSNiperwolf, there's gonna be a jacksfilms. You are putting yourself more at risk than you realize. And lastly, most importantly, the biggest force for change in this is the audience, which means that you watching have to change your behavior if we're going to do something about this. I hear all the time, audiences want React content. That's why React content gets more views. Okay, so I guess that makes it all right then. 69 people per day choose McDonald's. Guess it's health food now. You as an audience need to make smarter, more discerning choices. And yes, I do understand that you probably busted your butt at work. You just want to hop on your phone or hop on your computer, pop up a video and just unwind. I completely understand that. I really do. Having popcorn content you enjoy is not only not a problem, it's great. I definitely want to encourage you to do that and help enrich your own life. It's good stuff. All I ask is that you be a little bit more considerate about the kind of popcorn content you're consuming and how that may contribute to other problems, such as incentivizing stealing as opposed to making. Anyway, that's my spiel. I actually have a bunch more thoughts on this, but I wanted to keep this relatively informal. It was hard enough to organize these thoughts as it was. But I do love you guys. I know that you're here for me, thankfully, as little as that matters to anyone else in the freaking world. It matters a whole hell of a lot to me. I greatly appreciate you. Love you. Bye.